The GPT Win and the GPT Pocket have quickly transformed into two of my favorite gadgets. I have played some games exclusively on the Win, and parts of this video were edited on the Pocket. These two devices are the result of two really successful crowdfunding campaigns. Creating hardware products is much harder than people usually think. Several projects I have been following closely have run into severe issues when trying to make their products a reality. Which begs the question, where did GPT obtain the experience and proof that they can deliver? Why were so many people willing to trust this company enough to pledge money and make these campaigns happen? The answer might lie on this device, the GPT-XD. Before the GPT Win, Shenzhen-based company Gamepad Digital was better known for making Android-based handheld game devices, with the XD being possibly the best-known product until the Win made it into the market, and it is easy to see how both products share some of the same DNA. Both are clearly styled after the 3DS, from the controls to the clamshell design, and the GPT Win was clearly meant to be a successor of sorts to the GPT XD, as they both have very similar build quality. And both use very similar controls, with the stick buttons mapped in weird places, but the difference in OS changes the focus of both devices quite a bit. While the Win was meant to be a portable PC gaming machine from the start, the XD is probably geared towards emulation. As soon as you turn on the device, you're presented with an interface mapped to a set of pre-installed emulators that out-of-the-text games on specific folders and... Alright, before moving and talking about emulation, I'm going to make the typical disclaimer. Laws about backups vary by region. Also, please do not post links or places to download illegal ROMs on comments, because I will delete them and probably ban you. Right, so the specs of the GPT XD are okay for an Android device, and it handles most emulation pretty fine, although I will comment that the emulators included in the device are really old. I highly recommend you change the launcher and install update emulators. A noteworthy mention is Dreamcast emulation. I have experimented a bit in the past on emulating the 6th generation console on slow devices, so I was really surprised when Sonic Adventure 2 was playable at full speed on the GPT XD. I didn't even have to change the settings. This is a nice surprise. I played this game a lot when I was a preteen, and even though the controls are wonky, the levels can be quite fun. I ended up playing this test way longer than I should. But emulators aside, what originally caught my attention on this device is the fact that a fair amount of classic PC games have been ported to Android, which could possibly reframe this device as a gateway into some classic PC gaming. For example, I decided to start with the Android port of Max Payne. If Sonic Adventure 2 was the game of my pre-teens, Max Payne was my thing when I was a young, edgy and cringy teenager. I can't believe I thought this plot was deep. But apart from that, the action in the game itself is fantastic, and on the lowest settings it runs pretty well on the device, only showing some slowdowns on explosions or overly extreme action. Now, if you seek to reduce graphics further or get better performance, there are some options available on Android. These options always require having a rooted device, which thankfully is not complicated on the XD, and I have left a link in the description explaining the process. It will literally take you 15 minutes. But with the device rooted, you can use something like GTools, also link in the description, a program that allows you to change OpenGL settings on games and reduce the internal resolution even further than what it usually allows, as well as cut texture resolution. Also, you can disable some other effects which can lead to some very amusing graphics, if that's your thing. Another interested port game is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, the well-known open-world classic. It also did relatively well on the XD on the lowest settings, just staying around 30 FPS. And sure, you can edit this game with GTools as well, but there's also something very interesting to play around with. Mods! Turns out there's a community dedicated to modding the mobile version of this game. For example, I'll be using this one, FPS Optimizer. This mod is basically a couple of Cleo scripts that help with some slowdowns and make the game permanently night, which apparently can help in some devices. Installing them is as easy as moving those scripts to Android data.com.rockstargames.gta.sa and then installing the Cleo SA app. This will enable you to activate the scripts and check if they're enabled. I have left links to all the necessary tools and some extra FPF mods in the description. So, wrapping up, The GPD-XT is a device that hides a little more surprises than you will think. Compared to its successor, its focus changes entirely due to its OS. Unless you look for unofficial updates, the device is stuck on 4.4, and Android itself can be a pain in the butt to operate in a device of this format compared to Windows, and while you might not use this to play some modern PC games, if you want something considerably cheaper, with better battery life, where you can play classic games, this might be the device for you. If you're interested, there's a referral link in the description which will help the channel a great deal. In any case, thank you for watching, or for contributing in Patreon, or in general for anything you do.